The new Ram pickup features a frame design so strong, it's been patented. Its available rear step bumper can pull 5,000 pounds by itself without the help of that frame. And the tie-downs in back are so strong, they can support the weight of the entire truck. We overbuilt this pickup because we were sure you'd never underwork it. New Dodge Ram, the rules have changed.
Hey, hello guys, welcome back. We are picking up right where we left off on our 94 Dodge Ram 2500 project. The big old 4x4. This thing is in amazing shape for its age, for its mileage, almost to the 500,000 miles mark. I believe it's at 433,000, which is incredible. Got the good old Cummins in it. What we're going to do in this video is, by and large, I hope, the majority of our rust repair and panel replacement. Now, long ago when the owner and I started discussing doing this project, he had me order all the panels he believed he would need, I would need for rust repair. So I have had those on hand for quite a while now, and we are going to look at those, what I think we actually need to use and what we can probably ignore. So let's take a look at all that and what we're going to do, and then we will get to work. First off, I have our left-hand fender and inner fender assembly on the stand here, and we'll take a closer look at that in a minute. All of these panels I just did in one order through LMC. We have a brand new, so far it looks pretty good. Of course we'll have to test fit this, but we have a brand new stamping. They got this through Gordon Auto Body Parts Company Limited. But yeah, I mean, first impressions, it looks great. Out here, tucked under the GMC, I have the remainder of our body panels that I was asked to order. Again, everything from LMC, cab corners, door bottoms, rear wheel openings, and rocker panels. This much is obvious. Same issue on both sides, although this side is worse, and I'll tell you why. When I was taking the tailgate off in the previous video, I could tell that on the right-hand side, we have factory spot welds. On the left-hand side, they are all filled in as if with MIG wire. So at some point or other, this thing probably got hit. And at the very least, this rear bedside in some configuration was replaced. And when I look up from underneath, you can see it's got that EPD primer, just like all these new body panels. So I think the entirety of this bedside was replaced at one time or another. We have some rot forming here. Definitely both of those are a needed item. Now under here on the right hand side, our cab corner, especially towards the rocker end, is very bad. I think we can get away with just replacing mostly the bottom end there. We don't have to get crazy with replacing it all. And in fact, throughout the backside there, it is all very solid. But of course, we can't make any definite judgment calls there until we get everything stripped down. As far as the right-hand rocker, it is solid, but we'll take a closer look. Right-hand fender looks really good and solid. I've left it on. Left hand, same story as the right. Everything looks nice and solid. Cab corner, going around to the back side, everything feels and looks okay. So again, we'll make judgment later. Left-hand door, solid as can be. Right hand door. Looks factory fresh. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself. I kind of forget where we are. But left side rocker and cab corner look really good. There is just some very light surface rust and pitting right there. Other than that, you know, and from gravel and use and so forth. On the pinch weld, we're losing some paint, especially right there. No big deal. I can deal with all that, treat it, and make it good again. This here where that fender was rotten, that's good solid metal there at the pinch weld. No big deal. We can deal with that. I already took a close look at the bottom of this door. Absolutely no issues. We take a look at the bottom of this. Goodness, I just put batteries in this thing. And we have a little rust showing up right on the top of the fold here. But if I can sneak you in here, you can plainly see that there is no rust issues on the inside of the door. So this rust is not coming through from the inside. Therefore, we can clean it off, treat it, and be about our business. Otherwise, everything else is good and solid. No need to replace door bottoms here. Now, as for right side rocker panel, I am seeing no issue. There's a little surface rust right on the front corner. We just got dirt, and we can get a blowgun in there. We can clean that out really well. Perhaps a pressure washer, get cavity wax, and treat all of that, no problem. Obviously, big issue with the cab corner, and I think depending on where I hit good metal, we could probably, it'd be nice to keep it below down here, just this little. So get the spot welds out, hit the seam here, you know, in this bottom 4 inches, let's say, just keep it to that. And all the original factory steel could stay. And here is our original. As you can see, we got the inner fender spot welded in there. The primary problem being our bottom end here is completely gone. Otherwise, you know, it's pretty nice yet. But I don't know. The feller just told me it needed a left fender, and this was before I even saw the truck, you know. So that's what I got, so that's what we're gonna do. Otherwise, a guy could get away with cutting that out and replacing all that, but we're here, we got it, we might as well use it. It's what he's expecting. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to dig into this inner fender. I'm going to get the spot weld drill bit out. That was way too hard to say. And start removing our inner fender from the outer. Yeah, that's what I meant. Before I go any farther, I wanted to make sure that things were looking good with the new fender, and I have to admit this thing lines up apparently very, very, very well. All our holes are looking good. And here, the gaps, you know, just judging by where our paint was, we're looking good. So I think I can take that off. Some of these spot welds are deadly. That's gotta, thing is sharp. Yeah, I think I'm going to start getting that ready, weld that up. We will put this back on. Test fit driver's door. I shouldn't have to test fit the passenger because I'm not planning on removing anything over there, so nothing should change. But I do want to do the drivers. And then we'll do something. I have our original inner fender matched up to the new outer fender, and I must say this thing is impressive. This repop fender, gotta hand it to it. If we look along the flange in here, it is perfect, honestly. It matches perfectly. The only critical measurement, as far as I can tell, is we have a solid connection here in relation to our solid connection here. So I made sure and I measured the distance here, and that should give us, I think we would have a little wiggle room here if we needed to, massage it one way or another, but that should be good. The only issue, and it's a really non-issue, is this tab here, this little angle bracket, is higher, it seems, on the new one than the old one. If I put the inner fender on the top side, which is where it was before, as you can see by the dirt left behind, then we're not on our flange down here. But it all lines up perfectly underneath the bracket. That's the bigger consideration, getting the inner fender up against that flange in my mind. And there is no critical measurement on the front. As long as all these bolts line up with the radiator support and the top, we're good. There's nothing else on this end of the inner fender that is a rigid connection to the rest of the body. So that's fine. The only thing is battery tray from here to here, but I think if we get off and, we're not even an eighth of an inch difference there, so I really don't foresee anything being an issue. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have all my holes marked in pencil, the position, so I'm going to pop this off, strip off the primer so that it welds nice just in the areas where there's going to be a spot weld, and then we'll clean that up, and then we probably will be, I'll put this aside for now, I think, and move on to rust repair on the cab or the bed. last time I'm going to say it, overall I am very, very impressed with this replacement fender. I mean, I expected a little bit more trouble, and of course we got to test fit it and test fit the door yet, but this has been easy. I mean, honestly. And like I say, only this here that we have to do is the only difference that I saw, and that's not really, it doesn't matter really. So I'm gonna weld those 4 spot welds shut, and then this is done. I'm gonna go out into the cold and try to remove the bed, and then maybe I'll wheel the old truck on in here, the cabin chassis back in, and we can test fit the fender and the door. But it's coming together, doing good. Well, I've got our panel in with the inner fender. Everything's looking pretty good. We're nice and flush. Now, I don't have the door nailed down tight. It's snug, but I can still move it. But anyway, I know we can get flush all the way from top to bottom. Our gap is looking okay. I need to raise it up a little bit more on the top here, which I can do. You can see here it's sagging in the back. But we can get our same gap out of it. I think we can improve it actually, and we're not going to get into trouble. So I'm of the opinion that the fender is going to work 100%. I'm going to get under there, look at my rocker panel a little closer, look at my cab corner on this side a little closer, and if I'm of the opinion none of that needs to be cut out, welded in new, then I'm pretty sure our door is going to work just fine. We can pop that off, and I suppose at this point I will move on to the other cab corner. If all this checks out fine, ready to go, then I will start in hacking and cutting and welding on the right-hand side. All right, I find this interesting, and I certainly could have been the one to mess it up when I ordered parts, but you know, that's a distinct possibility. But nevertheless, we can work with what we got. But I'm sure I ordered from the right body style. Anyway, our cab corner obviously does not go all the way to the seam. Now, this may be just how they make them. This may cover, you know, this may be their answer for extended cabs and standard cabs, and you know, it is just what you get. I don't know. However, that means we're going to have to get into our rocker panel. A guy already owns it. Yes, I could make that extra bit out of sheet metal, but probably, especially considering he already owns this patch, I don't know that it's worth paying me to do that, the extra time, versus me just cutting this out, welding it in, and away we go. I would like to stay away from our seam here, so I'll probably cut in a 1/2 inch or even 1 inch, just depends. It's pretty rotten there, kind of thin there. We better kick it back as far as we can get it. I will probably come just below the brake. I will probably get into bad metal at the brake. And if so, depending on what we get into, I may even cut this patch, a tab out on this patch, and replace just a small portion of that. I just want to do as little, make it as simple as possible, and as simple as possible is as quick as possible, and as quick as possible is as cheap as possible. So the less we get into all of this, the better. So right now my plan is I will probably come up I may even come straight up into this lip, come over, and before we hit the curve, come back down, and then go straight back and down to our welding flange here, and go straight here. There's nothing bad clear on the back. This tab here is offset with the back wall, just like in the patch panel. So I'll probably take my grinder and follow that up on here, on both. So come up here, there, bump it up here into the step and down here. And that should make it as simple and as quick as possible. So why did this rust out the bottom of our cab corner? I mean, what's the issue here? Well, as far as I can tell, we have a drain here, but Dodge put in a foam seal from the bottom going on up, and I don't know how high it goes. I think it seems like it stops at the inner construction right up in here. And that their intention and the original makeup of that seal may have been porous enough to let water through. I don't know. But crud getting in there and so forth prevented any moisture collecting in here from getting to here. So that seal was really detrimental. Now some of you guys know these trucks way better than I do. So correct me if I'm wrong, put a comment down below. But what seems to be going on here is, so on your rocker panel you have two layers. You have the outer panel and you have the inner panel. And between the two, you have these nice big drains. So any moisture that gets trapped in here can go out, dries out, no rot. However, on the back corner, you've got three layers. See, I've cut my bottom of my cab corner out, but I still have two layers. I have an inner rocker panel piece, let's call it, and the outer layer. There's still two layers there. Up until this seam sealer point, right? And then beyond that, back here, we have a drain. This is all perfectly solid, looks like the day it was made. This does not. So what's happening between the seam sealer and this seam where they join three layers here, all the moisture's trapped. We figured that out already. I was going to kind of make some sort of swage block, clamp it on the back, and tap that through, or bump that and make a drain here. Don't know if that's a great idea. This gap here goes up into the rear corner, and that's what our vent here is trying to accomplish, drawing that out. And behind that plastic panel in there, that's all open to this void. So it's debatable that you could get cold drafts. You know, you probably already do. You got weather stripping and so forth, but with that vent, you would still get some sort of draft going through there. However, what I'm probably thinking of doing is making it even more simple. Take a small drill bit and one or two places drilling up through this inner rocker, and that'll allow, you know, there would still be some minuscule amount of moisture that could be in there, but it would tend to vent upward. Most of it would drain down through here. I don't know. It would easily get clogged should we get a lot of dirt in there. However, on this portion, you should not, well, the dirt would come through here. Honestly, cleaning it up, putting a good rust encapsulator on it, and you'd be good for at least another 30 years. But I think if I did that, we'd be that much farther ahead. So probably what I'll do, good, bad, or otherwise. All right, I take my cutout piece, I clamped it on over our panel, pushed it where it needs to go, and I traced it out with the pencil. Obviously that's not 100% accurate, so now that I'm going to cut it out with the cutoff wheel, I'm going to add 1/8 of an inch all the way around. That won't be 100% accurate either, but time spent going slow and making it fit a little bit at a time is well worth the time and effort versus getting huge gaps and trying to fill them in, right? So this is the important step as far as that goes. They're all important steps, but just take your time. And I keep trying to remind myself of that constantly as well. So get this cut out and we'll start that process. Well, here's our patch so far, and we're looking really pretty good. I need to double check clamping it on all together and making sure we're good up here, but otherwise I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to come in here. This is Eastwood's Platinum. Let me turn it for you. Rust Encapsulator Platinum. It's got a little can here. And we're going to take care of this rust. And then probably the majority of the patch panel where I'm not going to be welding, I'm also going to throw this on just because I have it out and it's convenient, and it'll be a nice barrier. Okay, I've got our holes punched in the flange. Everything's sealed up with rust encapsulator. Looking great. Everything is fitting really nice. So I'm going to get this clamped up and tacked in there. Just go to town. Get some sealer right here. We should be good to go.
right, well, I have all of the rust repair done pretty much on the cabin chassis, and you may ask why we're laying underneath the truck, and well, this is where I've been working for a while. The owner said, take a look at the frame down here, and requested that I fix a hole that got hacked into it. Basically, the cage nut for this sway bar bolt here disintegrated, and they had to get to it. I don't know, I suppose they were changing out bushings, and he wanted that patched up. And so sure enough, I made a patch for it, but getting into it, this entire bottom of this frame horn was gone. This was all gone, and the same thing on the other side. So I had to repair all three sides, make patches, and I tried to copy it the best I can, not getting too carried away because this frame is not getting restored by any means. But anyway, it is nice and solid again, so you know, it was getting to the point where it was almost serious, you know. And anyway, we got that fixed. Then under here, at our cab corner and rocker little piece, we're all done with that. Now, if you're a guy that tries to do this at home, first of all, big pat on the back, and you go for it, guy. But you're wondering why you think your panels are perfectly in line, you weld them up, and they always look like this. Well, don't worry, guy. It's not you. It's the natural process of metal. That is, if you got them perfectly in line to begin with, right? Metal expands, metal contracts. When it gets hot, when it cools off. Okay, so this, we had this perfectly in line, and it looked great when I started. And we got it hot, and then it shrunk again when it cooled off. And so all along where our weld end is, that is actually sunken in just slightly. So there's a whole concave recess now all along this weld. Even though my DA, when I sanded it with the DA here, it looks like it's touching. So the filler will end up being quite wide here. And that's just because when this cooled off, that sunk that whole seam area inward. Now, if I could get to the back side of this, we could do some hammer and dolly work, and we could make this thing absolutely look like there's no patch panel here, if that was necessary. But I can't easily do that. It would be a big pain in the hiney to get to the back side, and you really need to be swinging from the back side and have your dolly here to make this work. You know, or paintless dent repair tools would work. You could get in through the vent here. But that's what filler's for. It's not necessary, especially on this project. That is just how things work when you're working with metal. So most likely, if you think you got things lined up perfectly and they end up looking like this every time, it's not you, it's the metal. Happens to everyone. Don't worry about it, guy. Just get yourself some body filler and away you go. And of course, if you're working on a fender that you can get to the back side of, yeah, absolutely. You can pop that out, get those welds nice and straight, hit it with your DA, and no one would ever know that you welded a patch in there, if that's necessary for you, right? If that's what gives you value in your mind. Okay, moving on.
Does anyone else experience the complete evaporation of razor blades into the thin air? It happens at an alarming rate. I mean, where do they... I decided that before I do push this out into the cold, I might as well get the majority of our weather stripping adhesive off of here. Now this stuff, it's amazing. It has all the consistency and properties, the characteristics, if you will, of freshly chewed gum right out of the mouth. It is soft, it is thick, and it is sticky. I mean, there's no getting that off of anything once it gets on. I can't even let go of the tools, you know. I don't know what kind of stuff they were using. Anyway, I've just been getting as much of it as off as I can, and then going after the rest with acetone, and that doesn't even really want to cut through it. As long as I get it on this outer flange, we'll be fine. Alright, I turned the diesel burner off just for a second while I'm talking to you, and then you'll hear it the rest of the time. Sorry about that, but it's literally 0 degrees outside, and I think the wind chill makes it feel like -20. And it's snowing, been snowing all day like crazy, so I'm gonna have the heater on, right? Normally, probably I would almost be comfortable coming in here and cutting out right around here and not even get into the line here, the molded line. But that could just be a rock chip or something, but that makes me nervous. I'm not going to have to replace anything but this little section anyway, so I'm going to go up into the panel and just double check that. And then when I have that out, I'll try to get a mirror or something up in here, or a camera, and check out the inside all along in here. But it all looks great so far, other than this one little spot. So what I think I'm going to do is, from where the curve meets the top of our belt line here, I'm just going to go about 4 inches, and I'm just doing this. I'm not going to cut this out first, but I'm just trying to decide what I want to do. I think I'll come up 4 inches, you know, so 4 and 4. All of this looks pretty good. You know, I've got several inches there of good material. It's kind of rotted out on the bottom up to here, so let's go. Suddenly we're getting a lot bigger than I planned on, right? But we're gonna do something like this and just roll with that. Everything else I've tapped around with a pick on the hammer. Everything else nice and solid. So this should be more than enough to get that. So now I am going to go and do something very similar on our patch panel. Now I need to figure out where I exactly need to locate this thing. I mean, we should get pretty close, but these things don't want to fit when the old material's in place, right? Like I say, we could get pretty close, just cut small and keep building upon it. But another thing we can do is center our whole piece in the opening. Once again, it's not going to be exactly, this would be a little bit higher up if it was in exactly the right place, but this is where it has to be with that old material in place. But if we use it as a centering gauge, I can find a place to attach our vice grips here. And I would encourage you guys, unless there's nothing else left, don't use the whole panel. I was in a place once, you know, when I was younger, I had no money. I had to save up to buy patch panels, and I felt like I had to use the whole thing, or just out of ignorance, really. But you are far better off only using what you need. And I get it. It seems like such a waste, you know, but maybe you know someone else with a similar truck that could use another portion of it. I don't know. But to replace the whole thing is just that much more heat going into your original panel, that much more warpage, that much more hammer and dolly work, that much more body filler. It really makes sense to only use what you need to use. So we've got this thing centered in the wheel opening, obviously. It's going to be right where it needs to go. And so we can really get a good idea of right where this thing needs to go. With that corrosion and so forth down there, it just doesn't want to sit quite right. Guys, at the end of the day, you do what you want to do. You know, I've seen videos where guys come in, they glue this or weld this right on top of all the rust, and they're happy as a clam. I wouldn't want to be the guy that ends up with that vehicle. But, you know, what can you do to stop them? So, that's how it is. Okay, so we are very sure we're very close here, left and right wise anyway. We're going to be low because we're not where it belongs yet in terms of that. As we can see, I don't know if you can see it from that vantage point, my stamped lines are off. I could get that a little bit better. So I'm just going to make some marks here to know where we are side to side. I think it needs to angle a little bit more. I'm gonna get my square. Probably should have cleaned off the old marks. That wasn't too far off, but as suspected, we did need to move over to the right a little bit. All right. Brand new Sharpie, and I've already ruined it. Okay. So yeah, this is going to be very, very close. I can cut on the top of the line up here because our panel needs to still go up farther. I'm going to cut on probably cut right on the line. Nah, we can cut on the outside of the line in all cases. And we should be okay. Add a nice sharp Sharpie. I'm actually not sure how that thing is sticking there at the moment. Must be a pretty good fit, if I do say so myself, right? You'll notice, obviously, it's twice as wide as what I just previously showed. I did not like the fact that I had a couple of bubbles in the paint right here. And beings, this stuff is full of this deteriorating squishy body sealer. I mean, that's basically any more like having, you know, the guys that put the expandable insulating foam in their cars to block off rust holes. Guys, that's just a sponge. Actually, a sponge is better because a sponge dries out. That stuff holds water for a long, long time, and you're just making the problem worse. You'd be better off. I know it's convenient and it stops the draft, but anyway, off that soapbox. I didn't. There she comes. I did not want this thing coming back or the paint bubbling, you know, if I did not dig into that a little further. Better safe than sorry. It actually doesn't look too bad on the back side of it. The bottom flange is, of course, shot, but it may have been okay. But now I know for sure that this trouble area is all going to be okay. We can really fix it right, seal it up, and it's never going to be a problem for our guy again. We do have a problem right here. This is all shot. I shoved my body pick through there, so I'm going to have to replace about 4 inches of this inner structure first, which I will get on that. And then tomorrow I'm going to try to remember to bring my little handy dandy panel clamps so we can get this set up just where we want it before we start tacking it. So here's the old, popped out of the inner panel there, and here's the new. I was very silly and used part of the material with a hole in it. No big deal. I'll get that taken care of. But it's very much easier to do this kind of thing in 2 pieces, buzz them together. It goes so much quicker. Now I'm going to apply our encapsulator product. Once again, just make sure that all of this stuff that is still mostly solid stays that way. And I will put this on the back of our patch panel as well. And while that's curing, over here on the passenger side, more of the same, only worse. I don't think you need to watch the same thing over again. But I'll show you, I'll keep you up to date, don't worry. But I'm gonna get to cutting this out. I will show you one more thing that I'm doing here. After all, the entire bottom lip of this inner structure is pretty well compromised. There's just, you can see daylight through in a lot of places, especially right on the corner. So I'm going to have to make all of that, and then we have, of course, a rust hole right there, just like we did on the other side. But I know that if I try to weld this bottom piece to the side piece, that corner being rusted, although it doesn't look bad looking at it, I know it's under tape right now, it would be about impossible to weld the two, the bottom to the existing side. It'd be so thin, it'd just blow through all the way across. So I've got to make both pieces, and just to make my pattern, you just take some wide tape, and now I'm ruining it because I folded that over. So you can get that. So there's my, I'll have to repair it, but that should be very close to my bottom, the pattern. And I made little index marks with a Sharpie here so that I can line the two up. You could also make this, draw this out right next to each other, and then you'd still have to cut them. So. Alright, we are getting very close to putting new panels in here. I've come in and I've put my spot weld holes in here to go along, and then marked them with a pencil on the bottom side, and got down to bare metal with the die grinder. So that part is ready. We are all de-painted all around the outside edges. I really want to use these little clamps. It's going to be a little fiddle-faddle battle here, trying to get them in. I should be able to get the little back straps out once we're welded in. At least I'm hoping so. I mean, I can get my arm up in here in that cavity, so I should be able to get them out. Getting them in there might be more of the battle. It's the fiddle-faddle battle. The fiddle-faddle battle. think I just lost it again. Now, before we apply our panel, and by the way, I can't be fiddling around with those clamps. It's just not going to work. I can't easily get my arm up in there to apply the clamps, and with wet sealant it would just turn into a whole mess. So we're just going to do it old school with vice grips and welding magnets, and we'll get it set right. But I want to talk to you about what I'm going to put in here. So they had an anti-flutter product, you know, anti-flutter foam, and indeed it is very foamy, and I just think that in the end trapped more water, at least maybe once it got some age on it, trapped more water than it helped. But they put that in there to keep the vibration down, right? And they've got this low spot here between these two high spots. What am I saying? And they would squirt that in there. Now I don't know, I'm no expert on modern auto body, and I don't want to be. And this is, you know, something from the mid-90s is plenty modern enough for me. I generally don't like to do this kind of stuff, but I'm doing it for a friend, so here we are. But I would say that is really on when all of these products that glue a car together versus welding it together old school, when that was still somewhat in its infancy, you know, and so maybe the product just wasn't as good as what's available today. There's plenty of products available today. You usually have to get special equipment, special guns, and the products themselves are expensive. Lord Fusor is a brand name, sounds like something George Lucas came up with, but it's just like two-part epoxy, you know, but it's a much bigger cartridge, and you have the special gun to do it. And there is, I could buy anti-flutter foam product to put in there. They have all kinds of stuff just specifically metal to metal for gluing two panels together. SEM makes a product, so that would be available. I, however, am just going to do old school. It's all around body sealant, 3M. We got some of them 3M all around body sealants, you know. We want something, first of all, that isn't going to let it vibrate, and I would think a rubbery product like that is not going to let it vibrate. I want to prevent moisture from getting down in between the two body panels. I would think, again, no expert, I would think that is a better idea than a foam. It's going to keep moisture out, not rattle, and hopefully not deteriorate as fast as that did, or at least for as long as the guy's using the truck. So I'm going to cut this off nice and thick. We have about a 1/4 inch gap that we need to fill, so we need to make some nice thick beads in here, and then we will apply our panel, and I don't know. All I'm saying is, to all you keyboard bravehearts out there, it's already done. So you can tell me about how wrong I am, but it's done, son. I don't seem to have a working caulking gun. So we really have a section here that should drain quite well. It does have a crown to it, obviously, and then it is well ventilated, or has good drainage down both sides of the wheel well. You know, there's nothing preventing. Water should collect right in the center here, but it does slope off to front and back, and then you have big openings on either side, so it should dry out and it should drain. So I'm not too concerned about any of that. But if I can prevent I'm certainly going to want to prevent it from coming down here, which is where our rust comes from. So I'm going to put a nice thick bead right on top. Something like that. So I'm sure the majority of you have seen this 100 times or whatever, but for those who haven't, I'm just going to go around and get a tack about every inch or so, 2 inches, doesn't really matter. We got a really good fit all the way around, except I don't know what happened right here. Got a little careless, I guess, but in order to get my body lines lined up, that's how it had to be in the end. So no big deal. We will take care of that with some filler rod, and that'll be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and continue tacking, and then we'll get to the final weld. Now I'll also say, having said that your tacks usually are pretty ugly, I came in and I ground them down just so this part looks a little better and we can get weld right up to them a little easier. So let's say this is that tack. I'm going to come about half the width. That's where I'm going to start the arc, and I personally go like that. So I'm in the center and I go like that. Kind of a counterclockwise little spiral. I overlap the tack, and then the next one I do the same thing and I overlap, same thing, I overlap. and we don't want to get the panel extremely hot and wavy. All this heat is going up, and you will notice that we're not getting so hot we're burning our previous paint job, right? Alright, we have our gap here where a guy made a boo-boo, you know, and personally, you know, that's no problem. We just need a little filler rod. I don't even know the diameter of this rod. It's pretty small. About, you know, a guy could grab, just go raid your grandma's closet for a coat hanger and you can use that. But anyway, this thicker rod, that's got to be almost 1/8 of an inch. That's really too thick, at least for me. We're just going to put it and we're just going to weld the same way. I kind of messed that up because I'm doing it backwards, but that's okay. And now it doesn't want to let go. And if you notice as you go, the quality of your tacks is getting poorer and poorer. Check your shield if you're doing this with MIG, you know. Doing it old school yet. As you go, with all the spatter, with all the contaminants in the panel, you know, your primers and whatever else that there may be traces of in that metal. There's very likely it's going to build up in here and just start not welding as well. That was profound. Now we have the stud welder or the pin welder here, and so I put those on, but as of yet I cannot ascertain the whereabouts of the slide hammer that grabs onto these to pull them. So we're just going to do it old school, whatever that means. Maybe. So here's going to be a better demonstration of what I'm talking about and what I'm seeing. When I put our square on the top of our belt line there, and I have 5 inches marked right there so that I know side to side I'm measuring the same place. On the left side of the bed, even with this tail light flange, I have 3/16, and here I have 5/16, and then I put my tape across the front of this inner structure here, and then I look between the square and the edge. On the other side I had 3/8. This side I have 3/8, about 1/2 inch.
So not much, but I can definitely see a problem right here, which is where our problem is. And then you can see, I think you can, if I give you a little bit more of a bird's eye here, you can see this is poking out right there, and that's because this is buckled in, so the material had to move somewhere, and pretty sure that's why that's the way it is. So I'm going to set up my porta-power, see if I have a tool that'll go in there and push that out a little. Alright, these things usually leak so bad, I wonder if we've got oil in them. I don't know, we'll just find out. I've got your typical little, let's call it an emu beak here. Knob is tight, but we're getting no reaction to the action here. Okay, go get the jack oil. This is kind of, that may not be the oil fill. I don't know what that was. What are you? I can't read you. Do not adjust. Whoa! When a little red Taiwanese plastic cap tells me not to do something, I'm not going to touch it. You know what I'm saying? Well, where do you fill the oil? You got more plugs in you than a chewing tobacco convention here. I think I'd rather not discuss it, if you don't mind. Man, that wind is clocking like a mile a minute. Okay. There she goes. There you go, my pretty little pet. Okay. Woo! Don't know what that was. I know we'll have to go farther than we need to go, obviously. Still need just a fraction more there. And where's my 3/8? Right there. We're still a ways out. I think I'm going to pull the thing back and try to get it right there. So I'm getting really close down below on the body line, but I can still see, and maybe you can too, right in here on the flange for the tail light, it's still sucked in. Compared to the other side, I should have 3 1/4 inches, which I'm basically right there now. It still looks odd, so I think once I get it set to that 3 1/4, I'm going to have to come in here and hammer and dolly this area back a little bit, and that'll make it look right. Obviously all of this is hidden behind a tail light, but we want to get it right. And you can also see that this bracket piece, I'm not even sure if there were any welds there, but there seems to be quite a big gap here compared to the other side as well. Before I put the porta-power in here, it was at 3 inches from there to our sheet metal to this thing. We're now at 3 1/4. I'm going to go maybe to 3 1/2 and see how that comes out. Whoops, sorry. Probably do just a touch more hammer and dolly work. We get lined up here again. I've got 3/16. I've got 1, 2, 3/8 right on the money. It still looks a little bit tucked into me
right in here. But remember, this is also a factory panel on this side and a non-factory on the other side. That could have been original. How that looks, I don't know. Again, that'll be tucked under the tail light. You won't see that much, but now I have it to where this is looking correct. That's all that we can ask for, right? Clint Black sang it best when he sang, "We tell ourselves that what we found is what we meant to find." Well, I did it again, and now it's much better. 3 1/4, dead on. Looks great. We're gonna nail her right there. Further proof that I'm not lying to you. Don't know what I would gain by that, but there's our 3 1/4. Now, if you can imagine, when this thing got hit, and we have evidence it did, you know, we have filler down here, we have filler up here. This back corner tried to act like a hinge. So when that went in, this side of it tried to come out. So we buckled here, and we also find that the metal tore down there. So it was just trying to boop, come this way, because that was going that way. So I'm gonna have to tap that back in place just a little bit, clean it up, and drill a hole at the end of the crack, and we'll weld that up and be good as new down there. Springtime in Kansas and Germany. I suppose a guy really ought to invest in a rotisserie at some point. We'll get there, but I wasn't looking forward to doing more repairs laying flat on my back, so I think our last little bit of welding, certainly on the bed. By the way, as you can tell, I've already started the stripping refinishing video. I don't know if I've mentioned that. So that's why there's a lot of sanding and media blasting having already been done. But anyway, we have a double thickness. There's a little piece behind here. And this again is the factory side. That is non-existent on the other side, the replacement panel. I will probably leave it there. Well, I don't know. I'm going to cut this out, the bad stuff, and see what's left underneath. From the back side, it looks okay, but from this side, I bet there's not much left. So, we'll see what I have to do. We'll get that taken care of. I still need to finish up welding this along here yet, and then I think the bed will be done. Well, there's our patch ready to weld in. Maybe a little fine tuning as I go, but it's looking pretty good. This is the secondary piece behind it, and actually this is just surface rust, so I think I'll just clean this up, coat both sandwich pieces with the rust encapsulator, the Eastwood as well. And then when we do our spot welds, in between is nice and sealed up. Whenever you're doing lap welds, eventually something is going to start rusting. And, you know, lap welds, while quick, efficient, you know, to build a car, they just aren't good for long-term corrosion resistance. Anytime you have 2 layers of anything, moisture's going to set up in there and just start doing this. So And this is what I cut out. That's what I cut out. I just flattened the flanges, traced on our flat piece of sheet metal, cut it out, bent it up. I drilled the 2 holes that are factory through holes. There was even one of those little Christmas tree trim pieces. I don't know where it is right now, through there. But anyway, I will get this welded in, get everything spot welded up, cleaned up, back in, good to go. Well, that's going to do it for this one. I know it was a long one, but I'm determined to get this project shown in 3 videos or less. No, not going to be less, definitely. But anyway, as you can see, I am well on my way to getting towards priming. Pretty much just have the cab and the right fender to scratch up with some paper, and then we will be starting to shoot some product, and more sanding and more shooting and more sanding and more shooting. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this one, guys. Really appreciate it. If you are new here, go to my channel. This is out of the ordinary. We are normally working on something much older. Check out the channel, check out the playlists. If you are interested in even more videos, if you like what I'm doing, go to my channel, click join to become a member, $2.99 a month, and you get extra videos. More of me. Yay. God bless you guys. We'll see you on the next one.